why has it not happened for me yet? Why is nothing working? Why don't I see any progress? Sound familiar? You ever asked yourself any of these questions? Are you feeling that way right now or today? Y'all already know the answer. I've said it is my word for the year, and it probably needs to be your word for the year too. Consistency. Admittedly, I have already fallen off in several areas, and it's just March of this year where I said I have got to be consistent. The reason why I didn't get the results in 2023 was because I was not consistent. And I started thinking about that. Everything that I had written a goal down for that I was consistent about, it happened. I saw the results. I saw everything that I put the work into. I saw it happen. I got the reward. But in the areas where I was not consistent, here we are. And for anybody who's like, I'm trying, I'm doing my best, even if you fall off, just remember this is what I'm doing. You can get back up. You can get back on the right path. Jesse Jackson had this phrase, and I wrote it down in a quote, and I've been thinking about it. The ground is no place for a champion. The ground is not a place that I will wallow in. Let that breathe, let that sink in. For anybody who's like, I am going through, I'm doing my best. But for some reason, there are areas that are just really difficult for me to conquer. I want you to remember that. A champion never stays on the ground. And I think you also, too, have to tell yourself, no matter what, I'm going to win. Even when you don't feel like it. Even when all of the odds are stacked against you. I remember back when I was in college, I was taking this chemistry class. Hated chemistry, by the way, probably still do. That's another story. And they graded all of our exams on a curve. So essentially, they were like, out of the 500 people in this class, only like, I guess, less than 100 were going to get an A. So 400 of y'all, you already know you're not getting an A. And I remember my study partner was like, that don't even matter. What do you need to be concerned about that for? I was like, because they only giving out so many A's. And she was like, so what does that have to do with you? You just make sure you're one of them. I said, oh, that has stuck with me for the longest. So even when the odds are against you, don't worry about it. That's not your problem. You just do what you need to do to get the result that you need. And I feel like that's like eliminating all of the noise. It's also eliminating comparison too, because you're not worried about what they're doing over there. You're not worried about how many A's, B's, whatever are being given out, because you just know I'm going to know my material so much that I get an A. And that's another thing I've been thinking about too with consistency. Consistency is more than just like in your head talking about it, even writing it down. It's the execution. Quitting is when you don't execute. It's right before you're supposed to do what you need to do, and you back out, you get discouraged, your insecurities start hitting you. You start saying like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if no one watches? What if no one reads the book? What if I apply and it's a waste of time? But you don't know. You don't know until you get in the ring whether or not you can win. So we all owe it to ourselves to at least get in the ring. You have, obviously, MJ, Michael Jordan has that famous quote, you miss all the shots that you don't take. So that's what you just need to put in your head about why quitting is not an option. Another truth bomb, recording at times is difficult for me. Like talking to a camera and sharing, and not from the standpoint of like the transparency, but from the standpoint of like all of the things that maybe I'm insecure about or have issues with or thoughts about, all those start to go in my head, about like, is my lighting good, or my lighting doesn't look good, or does what I said make sense, or I said too many times, and or do people think you're rambling? My makeup's not right, it looks weird, or I need some makeup on. Like all those type of things, start really impacting you, and then you go into like a self-criticism. I'm sure many people can relate to that, where you're your biggest critic, you're your biggest enemy, tearing yourself apart and finding things about yourself that either you don't like, you feel like need to be improved, or are concerned that other people are judging and or assessing my voice, right? Like, how do I sound? Or I don't like how I sound. Or is this your YouTube voice, your real voice, your phone voice? All those types of things, y'all get the point, can really like weigh into your psyche when you are recording or doing anything that's different, that's putting yourself out there. And I've had to tell myself, quitting is not an option. If you feel that you are called to share, to encourage, to uplift, to do whatever you're doing. So whoever's listening, if you have something that like, hey, I'm supposed to do this. I gotta, if you can't do it, as I said before, if you can't do it brave, sometimes you gotta do it scared. Hey, I'm called to do this. I have to do it anyway. Um, and I've had to tell myself that quitting again is not an option, even though sometimes I feel uncomfortable, getting up here and sharing. I also had to remind myself too, for the people that it's really for the people that it's supposed to connect with, hit, and really like touch their hearts, they'll excuse or extend grace or just even ignore everything that's not right in terms of lighting, aesthetics, looks, pronunciation, things like that, because that's not what's important. The message is what's important. And I just want to share that for people who are like, hey, I have something that I want to do. Uh, but it's hard for me to fight or overcome some of the, insecurities and concerns I have about putting myself out there for whatever project, opportunity, assignment that you have on your life. I just want to let you know that I was reading something the other day, and it was saying that even people like Rihanna and Adele, before they perform, they often throw up because the nerves hit them. So if there's something that you're like, hey, I'm nervous about it, and I have some fears and concern about, even the greats, they have these feelings too. So, and they don't quit, and they still give their performances to thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people. So keep that in mind too. If it's like, whew, 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 don't back out. Quitting is not an option. So for anybody who is feeling discouraged, down, or just not feeling it, because that's me many days as well. Just remind yourself, like, when there's a call on your life, when there's an assignment that you have to complete, quitting is not an option. You can take a break, you can pause, you can rest, even take a breath. But just remember, you can't quit. Can't quit on you. Until next time, I wish you and hope and pray for you an abundance